All right, good morning class. Welcome to LA Chess Club. Your teacher this morning for your intermediate class is National Master Ruben Ondangan, and I will give a game that I played back in 2015, an unknown player in a local chess club in Antelope Valley. But I thought the opening will perfectly fit those who plays e5 regularly. And I played most of the black defense from Alekhine, Sicilian, French, Caro, Modern. I tried them all. There's no one size fits all. So we just have to try a variety of them. So here, it is a good line for black. And you play e4, e5, Roy Lopez. Maybe I should knight f3 and knight c6. Everybody are familiar probably with this line. Very equal, and the battle will be about tenacity, right? Tempo, and your temperament. Okay, so 3T. Okay, so let's see about the battle of tempo and tenacity first. So here, bishop b5, and there are two. The most common now is knight f6, trying to enter the Berlin. But I believe the Morphy defense is still the best in the position, a6. In other words, you ask the question immediately to the bishop, what is its intention, okay? Now, a few years ago, I gave a lecture on this, on the exchange variation, but before the advent of this YouTube channel we had, maybe I just show a few tricks here in the position if white captures. If white captures class, how should you recapture? You have to, this is one of the instances that you don't capture towards the center. Has to be away from the center. Okay? And we see here, the bishops are all open and main line goes castle. However, we have a bishop b5, g4. And white normally asks the question to the bishop. You know, in the same way that black did to white earlier. So here, there are probably two. To most people, there are two responses: capture, retreat. Correct? There's actually a third one. H5. Please be quiet. H5 here. Now let's examine first, because you were in this class when I gave this before the, after hg4, now find a square for the knight. And wherever the knight goes, for example, knight takes pawn, just an example. Queen arrives, h4, and the game is basically over. We try to create a escape. We will put a nail in the coffin. And it's done deal. So these are one of the tricks, and the opening of the H-file is just lethal and just problematic. Okay, so those are one of the. I encourage that all of you try to examine it on your own free time, because today we will not be studying the exchange. So I just give you an idea what took place years before when we have lecture here, and without the YouTube channel we had. The YouTube missed a lot of wonderful lecture from the past. We'll try to bring them back this time to help other players. Okay, so I believe, class, that the correct move here for black in this position after bishop b5, just simply ask the question, what is wrong with these pieces jumping out of my hand? Okay, knight b5, the correct move is a6, okay? Ask the question immediately. So if they capture, then they fall into one of our plans, okay, and tricks and traps in the position. However, if bishop a4, now of course as white, I also encourage not to exchange pieces so early in the game. It is important that you keep your man alive for the time being, okay? They're not needed to be exchanged first. So the correct move here after a6, anyone? Catch up in development with knight f6. Okay, knight f6, And white normally castles here. Okay. Castle, can we capture the pawn? If you capture the pawn here, is this good or bad?
It's not good.
Very good. It's not good. It's not good because the open file with the king in the center is enough compensation for an attack. I think it will be winning actually for white. For example, after bishop takes, knight, delayed capture, and no matter how he recaptures, for example with the pawn, we have a rook e1 here, and you know, after there's so hard to defend this knight, and you will regain the pawn with a better position, a better version of the exchange actually. Okay, so don't capture the pawn on e4 unless you are Victor Korchnoi here. Okay, Victor Korchnoi captured an e4 not on this move but on the next move. Okay, this is how he does it. If Victor Korchnoi plays here, he wants to capture the pawn, he will play b5 first. Okay, and after bishop b3, only then he will start playing with fire. So knight takes e4, and after d4, d5, and you will see this game if you are familiar with the World Championship that took place in Baguio City back in the 1978 and 1980, before you guys were born. I was just a year old back then. Okay, so this is a line by Victor Korchnoi as black. He loves this line very much. It's very violent, I believe. So there's a lot of things happening. So theoretically, it's probably equal. So don't capture the pawn. If I were you, I try to play safe chess. Okay, avoid confrontation. Try to play power and control chess. Okay, no commitments. Correct. So after castle, what should you play here then? Bishop c5 is a line. That's one. It's called the archangel variation. We have bishop e7. We have b5. b5 I think is probably too early. Bishop e7 is correct. Catch up with development. So there's two good moves here. I believe bishop c5 is good too, with the idea of probably b5 first and then bishop c5. A modern neo archangel they call it. Okay, so bishop e7, classical variation here. We played rook e1. I castled. Now I play b5 first, and after bishop b3, only then I castle. Now class, here you have to keep an eye on the setup that black is playing. He is not ruling out the possibility of a martial gambit or a martial attack. For example, here after c3, we could actually play the martial with d5. Okay. Instead, I opted for a sub variation. Again, this is a very solid line. d5 is probably theory all the way to move 30. Okay, and the main line Ruy Lopez with d6 is not yet known. What are you trying to achieve? Maybe a Briar open, a Briar defense, or a Smyslov or a Keres. So here, I just try to follow my instinct that according to the rules of classical play, just develop your pieces. So I play bishop b7. Okay, and also it gives your opponent something to think about, because that's not one of the main line. The main line here is either d5 or d6, not bishop b7. Correct? Now, I love to examine old books. That's one thing. I love to examine sub-variation, not the main line, because the main line are known. In other words, I just want to play chess. Okay, I don't want my opponent to be playing me with books and rattle me off with blitzing me in the first 30 moves of their opening. I don't like to play opponents like that. They're not. You're not playing them. You're playing their books. So here, bishop b7 is original. Sub-variation is not a novelty, but it's one of the sub-variations. So bishop b7 seems good. He played d4. Okay, here, chess begins here. The battle of time, space, and force. Okay, everybody is jockeying for position here. For the meantime, we are actually ahead in the battle of time and force. Why? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 developments against 1, 2, and 3. We're ahead. So this is what you need to know in evaluating a position. Who's better? How do they know white is better or black is better? Well, you start counting men, right? You start counting who has developed and who has achieved space, force, and time. So here, space is about equal, but force and time favors black. And this is what I like in a game of chess. You just have to get very tiny advantage and accumulate them small until you make them big. Okay, you cannot just get the big advantage will drop on your luck on your own. No, you have to work hard for it. So here is one of them. After d4, there is what we call a tension suddenly taking place in the center. And what to do here? A lot of people, when they are facing problem, they get rattled, they panic. Okay, but never fear. You just have to keep your eyes open and watch what your opponent is trying to do. There are two plans. The threat on e5 is real because it's attacked twice and defended once. The advance of d5 could probably threaten shutting out your bishop in the game. The knight will have to move, right? But on the other hand, his bishop, which is on b7, will find itself blocked by its own man. So we have to evaluate what's the resulting position. Who will benefit on d5? It's actually black who will benefit on d5. You know why? This bishop is not a problem. It can always go back to c8. The knight can gain a tempo by c5 and plant itself on c4. So you see now a move, a threat, it seems only look good at first, but on deeper analysis, it's actually much more complicated than that. So here, what should black play then? If he expects d5, d6, because his bishop might go to c8, correct? So this is how your thought process should work in a game of chess. You expect your opponent's move. You expect not only their move, but their best move. Okay, you have a guessing game. And the knight can go to a5 or b8, play knight d7, knight c5, knight a4, knight c4. There's a lot of idea. Now, I'll give you a clue here. In a game of chess, you need always to have continuation. If you run out of continuation, that means you run out of idea. Then it's hard for you to locate or find moves for your own. It's hard. How come I'm running out of idea and then suddenly you go berserk, you go crazy? That's because you have no continuation on every move. Every move needs to have a continuation, okay? Because all moves, they are connected with one another. There's no random moves here. They don't show up. No, you plan them from beginning, okay? So here, d6 is the correct reply. Catch up with development, knight bd2. Okay, very natural move here. And the tension was left there. It stays, and he will probably capture an advance only when it will favor him. And this is a battle now of another T, tension. We talk about tenacity. We talk about tempo. We talk now about tension. There's a tension. When you remove the tension too early, it's easy for your opponent. But if you maintain the tension, it's something for them to worry every time in the game. Okay? So, knight bd2, maintaining the tension. Here, I lost my patience. Okay, I captured the pawn. I cannot stand this. This is struggle. This battle of chess. I cannot take this anymore. Let's do something here. So I capture. I surrender the center. ed4, and see cd4 was my move. At first, my idea was play knight b4, but that's not attacking anything. Your move needs to contain a threat, okay? So I play knight a5. At least it threatens the bishop. And the idea is I don't want my bishop to be buried. So now what we see here is a very beautiful line actually. Look at the bishop and the knight. They start to attack e5. That means this knight cannot move just easily on f1, which is original intention, correct? Its original plan is to go back here and play knight g3, but now it will be stuck there for a moment, and that means this bishop will be out of play. So these are the thoughts on a master's level. Okay, this is how we play chess. We start thinking as a whole, not only one move at a time, but the opening here. It seems like bad at first, but actually it makes sense. Now why? We have the open e file. With the attack on e4, if this rook will make it to e8 and the bishop on f8, we have a very strong attack on the center. Chess is about the battle of the center. Okay, either you control it, okay, or you relinquish it, or you let go of it. If you lose the battle of center, the game is over. It's hard. Okay, so that was my main idea. This was a good gain of tempo. Of course, here in a Ruy Lopez, white player's prize piece is not the knights, but this bishop. We call this the Lopez bishop. In every opening, in every position, we have what we call a star piece. Just like in basketball, we have the go-to guy. Okay, this is our go-to guy here. You have to keep him alive. Okay, so here, because this guy is very important, we need to spend a tempo, what? Saving this bishop, moving it, c2. Okay, good. He continued to defend e4 so that this knight can go to f1 and maneuver, and the bishop can see the light of day. Okay, so it seems like everything looks good for white. He was able to attack and counter-attack, get the idea of his opponent, understand the idea, and find a way to neutralize the idea. Okay, sounds so good. Now it's still a struggle, and the game is far from over. It's just starting to heat up. Okay, so bishop c2, what should be our continuation then? Rook e8, s1. What else we have? Now, if we play rook e8, that's about 2 tempo before you could achieve your aim, correct? Rook e8 and then bishop f8. Now we have to move fast before this guy recover and the bishop start coming out and start creating problem in black's position. We have to hit. Once we hit the center on e4, it was under watch. We now hit another central part. d4, therefore c5. Now you see how a chess master thinks, right? Chess is about giving your opponents problem. This is one of them. Because if you're not giving them problem, you will receive them. Okay? So here, c5 creates a dilemma actually. What to do here? Will I allow, white will be asking himself, will I allow pawn takes and then knight takes, and he has an isolated d6, but it is well protected, but he will have an open c file. Now, he was being enticed as well to play d5 and close the position. Unfortunately, it doesn't help him because the bishop just simply slide to c8, and we have a new diagonal in our disposal. So it's a dilemma for white. It's more problematic for white to play this position than for black. And I suggest that you play if you play e5 like our producer Brian here, you should adopt this type of setup. Just activate your pieces. Fight for the center, attack the center, make your opponent go crazy. What to do? Okay? So here, c5. It's a problem. If you're white here, what should you do? How about you? Now you can answer. I will test your positional skill in this position. What should you do? This is not easy. So here, c5, the lesser of two evil actually is not to allow the capture. Allowing the capture will give black the c file. Not only that, a c5 and a c4, whichever they want to choose, black, right? So here, the lesser of two evil is close the diagonal. There's nothing to do. It has to be closed. Now what we achieved, the change in the pawn structure class has actually created a different scenario. Have you noticed it? We have a queenside majority. 3 against 2. Okay? But Master Ruben, isn't this a pass pawn? It's not a pass pawn. It is an advanced pawn. It created space, but is it power advance? Is it stopping some of the enemy piece? Yes, for the moment, right? But actually, it's more of a problem in this position, right? It was blocked. Who benefits here? This bishop will find it hard to see the light of day for a while. And this is the star piece, right? If the star piece is out of play, it was benched. It's like telling Kobe Bryant, go sit down. You will be in trouble, man. Right? So here, bishop c2, d5, there's no choice. So the tide is going to our favor. Go ahead.
Should white start fighting on the queen side too because of the pawn formation, or?
Cannot. If you battle black in this type of position when they have the pawn, the majority in the queen side, this is good rule of thumb. You don't battle where your opponent is strong. Okay? You run away. You go to someplace else. No, sir, sorry. You guys are too many there. We go someplace else. Okay? It's a rule of thumb. Don't fight your opponent where they are strong. Find the weakest spot. Okay? And here, it has to be the king side. Right? At all costs. He has to do something here. Go crazy, sacrifice, open all the lines, and find something to sacrifice, throw everything at the king side to the king, including the kitchen sink. Okay? It has to be done, or else you will be squashed here. So here, after d5, what should black do?
Bishop c8.
Bishop c8, anything else?
Rook e8.
The advance of d5 created a hole on e5 that is asking and calling your name. Please build me up.
So knight d7.
Knight d7 with the idea of bishop f6. Look at how dominating your position will be. See, if this is how you think in chess, you are thinking this way. If he captures, beginning with c5, if he allows the capture, I have a possibility of rook c8. I have a knight c4 or knight c5. And I have the e5 square and the c5. These are the thoughts that you have in your mind. If he advanced, then I have, without calculating anything, I can put my knight on d7, put my bishop on f8, put the rook on e8. And it was a beautiful position. It's a picture of coordination and harmony. Right? Everybody is playing like a team, like the Lakers do. I don't know about that. But hey, this is how you should play chess. Harmony and coordination. Very important concept. So, knight d7 is deep. At first, you want to play bishop c8, but that can wait. First of all, let's control the central. Remember, battle of the center. Between finding a job for a jobless piece and the battle of the center, which should prevail? The battle of the center. Between two moves of a pawn and a piece, which should you choose? Find the move for the piece, not for the pawn. Okay? These are the simple rules that you can always remember. That's why a lot of blitz players are very strong. They just have this golden nuggets of wisdom, we call them. Knight d7. No calculation needed here.
Is that why in Bughouse it's better to, when you have a choice of dropping a piece somewhere and putting a piece somewhere, then it's better to just move the piece?
Correct. That also works in the idea of if you are not sure what to do in the position, okay? Because sometimes we come to that point, right? What should I do here? Should I call my lawyer? Our teacher, what to do in this position? Just improve the position of your worthless piece, okay? Anybody who's not working, put them in the job force, okay? Workforce. Okay. Knight d7, battle of center. Now after knight d7, the opponent play knight f1, a natural move in the Lopez. Thinking of knight g3 or knight e3, and then the beautiful square knight f5. So we have to really move quick and fast here. After knight f1, what should we play?
Bishop f6.
He wants to probably develop the bishop. You want to play knight e5, but it will just be exchanged. This is a problem. If you play knight d5 automatic and you were jumping for joy and happy and calling all your friends, I have a dominating position. They just capture it, and after that, the D5 that was bad earlier becomes suddenly good. It's all your fault. Right? You just got so excited suddenly. No, sir. If you want that move badly, we have to prepare the move. Okay, with that idea in mind, what should we do then?
Bishop f6.
It's hard to find the moves here because this was a long game. It was played with a game 90. So a lot of thinking was produced in this game. The correct move here is, you were right, you have to find a job for the piece or improve the position of a piece that is not working. There are two of them, this one and this one. The knight has been lurking there in the sideline for so long. It's like Mutombo asking, when are you going to bring me to the game? Knight c4 with the idea of knight e5. So when he exchange, you have another beast of burden there in the center.
That's what you did to me the last time.
Right? Isn't that easy if you have this concept in mind to find moves? You are so excited with one move, but if you could find a better way to bring it there, then everybody will be happy.
Wouldn't bishop f6 also be good?
Bishop f6 also playable, but the problem is this bishop is good. This knight is bad. We have to bring him to the game. So this is just right. Knight c4. Okay, after knight c4, gain a tempo with b3. Where does the knight go?
Knight c5.
Let's see. Here is another special golden nugget of wisdom for all of you. Sometimes our mind play tricks on us. When our opponent is, when our pieces are under attack, our immediate response is how to run away or stay out of trouble. No, if the best defense is always
Bishop f6.
offense. Bishop f6 gains tempo. All right, ignoring the threat to your knight. All right, as an unexpected move, it's called an invisible move, but it's actually a very strong move because now there are three key players working in this important square and diagonal. Very penetrating look and a real Lopez actually for black. So if you're black, you play e5 a lot of times, you should learn this system very well. So after bishop f6, what should white do? It's a problem.
Rook.
Okay, after bishop f6,
Rook b1.
only move, rook b1. And then, only then you play the knight c2 e5. How do you like black's position? Harmony and coordination, correct? So after a knight ce5, knight takes. Again, it's a question, how should now I capture? It seems our automatic response earlier was knight takes e5. The difference is earlier, knight takes, if this b pawn is not there, then knight takes e5 is the correct capture. See the difference? There's a b3 now. So if he hit you with b f4, we find our knight driven away, lost a tempo, and then after it moves, he can sacrifice with e5 and we're in trouble. Because the bishop that was dead is now alive. Resurrection Day. Came back with a vengeance. See, we start crying, right? We're trying to stop that pawn advancing and it just showed up on the board. Those are the moments that you just shake your head. SMA, shaking my head. What just happened? I'm just preventing it all this time. So, class, the correct capture is bishop y, so that after f4, you don't lose a tempo because you have a continuation, a check, and it's your turn to move. Very important when you, a battle of tempo or battle of time, okay? So a major difference there. If the pawn was still on b2, then yes, capture with the knight by all means. But it changes. The situation on the board changes every time. So bishop takes e5. f4.
Bishop d4 check.
Instead of, there's two moves that we can play here. The check or the gain of tempo with bishop c3. The reason, this is my reasoning as a master. As a master, this is how we think. If I play bishop d4 check, I actually help my opponent to tuck himself in safely in the game. I said I will leave the king there on g1 so that in time, if I needed to gain a tempo, I can always check him. Right now, it's not yet needed. I can do something else. So bishop c3 first.
Also, rook e3, then bishop d4.
Keep, of course, if rook d, there's a lemon right there. Come on, man, what's the matter with you? You've lost it? So bishop c3 is the correct move. Okay, you need to be precise in your chess game. Okay, precision is probably an art that is hard to come by, and it requires a lot of training, a lot of discipline. Okay, precision. Here is one of them. Bishop c3. Your automatic move is bishop d4, but it helps the enemy. Leave the king there for now, because you can always check him later. So, after bishop c3, bishop d2 was played.
Why not bishop c2? Like,
b2?
Could that have been a decent line at all?
Which one?
Bishop c2?
Bishop b2?
Sorry, b2.
Rook, bishop takes c1, and then the material disadvantage will tell immediately here.
What about knight d2?
If knight d2, this knight will suddenly block its bishop, and there will be what we call a heavy traffic on the first and second rank here. And sometimes everybody's stepping on each other's toes. Say, come on, man, get out of my face. You're blocking my view. There's 5 of them all together there. What are you guys huddling about? Right? So, no. So after bishop, again, the bishop c3 is problematic. You're right. That's the reason. It gives white a dilemma on how to react. Bishop d2, knight d2, rook e2, and you can easily go wrong here. But the correct reply is what he did, bishop d2. Let's exchange bishop. But then, of course, in a position where your opponents are just trying to survive and trying to find good moves, and you have all this privilege of a lot of continuation, should you exchange? By all means, no. You don't have to exchange, because if that is the case, it benefits the player that have less space, hard maneuvering ability, right? And this is the position white has. So don't exchange. Keep the pieces alive. Only now, bishop, see? Only the check now is needed. Bishop d4 check. Avoiding exchanges. Now, let's see what's going to happen if he start challenging. And he said, get out of my sight, man. Come on. Leave me alone. Bishop e3. And what should you play now? What transpire in the position class? With all this jockeying of this bishop against bishop, should now black exchange? Again, the answer is absolutely not. Now, the correct move here, if bishop c3, it will be a tango, a draw. I played bishop f6. Now, what's the idea? What's the difference of earlier? Earlier, the bishop was on c1, e5 is easy. Look, the bishop on e3 blocks the rook. You see now this idea how chess players think? A battle of chess idea causing opponents to commit themselves to their own detriment. This class is a game of chess. Okay? So bishop f6. e5 is hard to achieve for white here. And now we have time to play rook e8. Okay, let's see what happened after bishop f6. Said, I'm sick and tired of this. I will force e5, knight d2 with knight f3 idea. Okay, he played knight d2. After knight d2, rook e8 is actually good enough. But you see here, because this bishop is longing to be open and get a diagonal, the idea and the plan of white here is to reroute, maneuver this knight here, go back here, and create some kind of attack on the king side. With that in mind, we have to stop our opponent, even to the point of moving the same piece Not once, not twice, not thrice, not 4 times, but this is the 5th time. You just want to cause your opponent headache. Okay? This is what you will learn from your teacher. Chess is a battle of idea, and when you notice their idea, give them problems so that they cannot accomplish their idea. Okay? It's problematic. How on earth it is now pin? The only way to get out of the pin is to move the rook, which will be bad here because it's needed there, or to reroute everybody, queen f3, and it become troublesome. It's a lot of things to do. Okay? So bishop c3 is actually an excellent move, correct? Would you agree? Yes. You can use it later in the tournament. Okay? Bishop c3, pin your opponent's piece and drive them crazy. Okay, after bishop c3, he said, that's it, I'm sick and tired of this. Queen h5, I'm going to kill you, he said. I'm going to deliver mate by all means. So here, queen h5 was played. Oh, he lost his patience, right? The problem with queen h5 is too exposed while the rest of the men are just bundled together at home. Nearly at home. Not totally at home, but they are there huddling, watching football. Oh, it's baseball season, okay. Super Bowl. MLB, okay. So queen h5, what happened here? We gain a tempo. Knight f6. Okay, knight f6. You see now, when your opponent lose their patience, you benefit from their loss of patience. If queen h3, we arrive bishop c8. Right? So where to go? Queen h5 goes. If h4 here, what's going to happen?
Black's pinning the pawn. They could uncover the knight on f6.
Yeah,
like, and you have the queen's exposed to
The queen is exposed.
But to the other queen.
to the other queen.
Mm-hmm. The queen is exposed here. And for example, queen h4, what's going to happen? We can play, for example, queen e7 with the threat of knight takes d5. That's dangerous. That's one. Okay, and an attack on e4. Okay, here, white start feeling that, okay, my position is really becoming from bad to worse. So instead, he said, I can't. He went queen h3, which is a blunder because now I have bishop c8. I think queen h4 is still the best, but of course, here is the problem of chess players. When we miss an idea or we find ourselves in bad position, the blunders we make are one after the other. They come suddenly in bunches. Why? That's just how it works. And that's why the Russian school of thought is, if you miss an idea of your opponent, immediately offer a draw. Try to play a Russian. That is just their mentality. If they miss an idea and they didn't see your threat, they immediately offer you a draw. Draw? No? So here, no way to say it. You know what? When they offer a draw, that means they miss your idea. Okay? Now you guys got that from me. So bishop c8. This is his whole idea. f5. Now it seems good to keep that bishop bottled up in the game, out of play. At the same time, his bishop has been out of play all this time. Okay, so who will benefit here? We are now looking at this fresh square here. I said, whoo, wonderful. A backward pawn that can be attacked several times, and pieces that are just lack coordination. And his idea is probably a pawn storm, g4, h5. Now we have to prepare for this coming storm. And how should we do it?
Walk the king over to the queen side.
Walk out the king. Okay. Okay. So there's no threat yet. So keep the king safe in there. Instead, after f5, we have to start doing something. One of them is creating problems so that he cannot play g4. Okay, don't react here. Keep these three musketeers together.
Three musketeers.
Okay? For the meantime, our queen has been watching from the sideline all this time, trying to direct everybody, go here, go there, do this, do that. Time for her to see action. Queen A5. Okay. Very good.
Oh.
Attack something.
Attack two things. It's even better.
A2 is under attack. The knight is under attack. The queen with one swoop suddenly creates tremendous headache for white.
And wins material.
What to do here? I think my opponent suddenly was very unhappy in this position. Of course, who wouldn't be? So, after queen a5, RB to d1 was played.
Now take the pawn on a2.
Of course, queen takes a2. The fruits of your labor. Okay.
And the very first capture.
Now we attack the bishop, right? Bishop b1.
Oh wait, I'm wrong. But the second. Oh. What? Who was called?
Now where should the queen go? Do we go back to a5?
Or queen b2?
Or we just stay deep in the enemy territory? Sounds exciting there. Queen b2. Let's stay there deep. Entrench ourselves within the enemy ranks and see how he likes it.
Now he's just starting.
How you like me now?
Now he's starting in 3.
So it's very problematic because why? The knight cannot move because this pawn drops.
So yeah, but you can take the knight and take the pawn.
And you can take the knight too.
Yeah.
And there's a threat. But again, you don't want to capture me. It will help your opponent. We just keep the pieces there entrenched and cause a lot. It's like a thorn in white's flesh. Here is one of them. It's just, he doesn't have time to do whatever he wants because he's bothered by what you want. Okay. So here, what to do for white?
I would say retreat.
He played g4. I said, since he planned that, he might as well do it. g4. And now we leave. Okay, I leave these 3 pieces. You guys can continue watch your favorite movie, and let us all do the dirty works here. The queen, the bishop, and then the knight. Because this square is so juicy, I need to get there because of this possibility of check, knight f3 or knight d3. A lot of things. And of course, it avoids the tempo gaining g5, space gaining g5, okay?
Who's winning here?
Well, we will watch.
Black. But I'm confused.
And
No,
after so much confusion, your opponent start thinking that he's playing checkers. Okay, so what's going on with your opponent? They lost their mind. Okay, after g4 and knight d7, rook f1 was played. Get out of the pin. Then we arrive e5, looking like General Douglas MacArthur here. Knight e5 in the center of the board. That's just a picturesque, right? Knight e5. It cannot be kicked away or sent home. It will stay there. It will be a problem.
stay there until-
g5. Now this pawn advance is scary to look at. Actually, but they lack. Actually, they lack any support of the other man. They lack power. They lack strength. For example, I cannot play f6 or g6 because that bishop, even though it's watching at home, it's like a cyclops there, right? It prevents the advance of the pawn. So what to do? So after g, what?
Just watching the new movie Logan.
Okay. g5, we ignore it. We play a5.
Why don't you play f6?
Well, again, good question. Why don't you play f6? Why? Your opponent is playing here. He wants you to commit something and create all your own weakness so that he can do something. For example, f6, he can play this move, and after, for example, capture, or just leave it there, play rook g1. You created a target, sir. That's treason, punishable by death. Okay, so do not create a target where your opponent is attacking. Go find someplace else. Here, why not push opponent, create another queen? I've been longing. My queen is so far entrenched, far in the far away land. I need another queen. There you go.
The queen is in La La Land.
The queen is there comfortable behind enemy lines.
She's watching a sofa in the enemy castle. I mean, she's watching TV on a couch in the enemy castle.
You're using so much of my rhetorics.
I think the king is just
You've been watching too much Ruben channel.
The king is just staying there watching.
So a5 was played. Queen g3. He can't play f5 or f6 or g6. So get out of the sphere of that bishop's influence. Okay, Queen g3. We continue on a4. Without moving these three vital, important officers, you're not needed.
They're stuck. I think they're watching.
Okay, a4. ba4. How should you recapture, class? Of course, the rook is longing. Come on, bringing me out. I've been dying here. No, we need a new queen. You stay there. Okay. Capture pawn, we have a passer.
The rook is on punishment.
Okay, the white said, okay, we have a runner over there. What to do?
Why are they just relaxed?
F6.
Intercept.
There it is. Your opponent wants you to play your automatic move g6, and suddenly you find yourself, I think you're about to get checkmated here.
Yeah.
Right?
You can play.
So, he's trying to disturb the balance, the equilibrium. What should you do? Do not be pulled by your opponent's intention. Bad people. What should you play? Finally, the bishop saw the light of day.
Yeah. He stopped being lazy.
I can see now. Bishop g4.
Wins material.
Knight here. Bishop. This tremendous number of threats suddenly in the position showed up because of the spore guys here.
Apparently that bishop woke up.
Bishop g4.
I guess
The-
bishop's thought more about war.
What we thought as a small piece become a dragon in the position. The dragon bishop is here. Bishop c4. Bishop g4. F g7.
We have two dragons, don't we? The one on
Should we capture? Yeah, why not? Capture the pawn. King takes g7. Knight f3.
just take it.
Knight takes f3, of course. There's nothing else to do.
Rook take.
Rook takes.
Obvious.
And it results in a win of material.
Yeah.
Bishop takes. Queen takes.
It's just a trade.
No, it's in the
Let's see this.
exchange.
Let's create something here.
Black has two rooks. What's that supposed to do?
A checkmate. Or a checks here.
It's to get him to trade queens. He has to trade queens.
Queen h5.
Well,
Creating a threat.
Oh.
a3. And after rook f1.
Did he simultaneously?
After a2. My opponent throwing the tower said this is too much. So he resigned because
he could check you at h6.
after that it's just a one
I
move
know.
check and that's it. Goodbye.
Exactly.
All right.
If the
Or the most accurate is here actually.
Yeah. G6.
So that if he goes there,
Oh yeah, now G6 before that.
no, why wouldn't he play?
Yeah, G6.
Why wouldn't he play G6 now?
G6 now. Yeah. King to H8 now G6.
g6.
Looks like a blunder.
And now bishop.
Oh, King
G6.
h8 is a blunder. Okay. So King g8,
G8.
g6.
G6,
What happened?
and then nothing.
No,
That,
F6.
that, yeah.
Just capture with either pawn and you should be
He
fine.
loses a pawn.
Yeah. Pawn takes.
Either way.
Oh, King h8 is a mistake. Okay, so King g8.
King G8.
So, what is the theme of this morning's class? It's about the battle of tempo, time, tenacity, and there's one more, tension.